and they are loyal to the country, meaning by this that loyalty is not blind loyalty. You and me, as active citizens, we shouldn't be passive as citizens. If we think that the government is doing right, we say yes. If we think that the government is doing wrong, we should be critical. It's not that I'm critical towards my country and my government sometimes that I'm less loyal. The positive loyalty is always a critical loyalty. So I think that this is it. Now, if you look at millions of European and Western Muslims, they are integrated. This is over. It's post-integration. And the post-integration is one word: contribution. Give to your society. Be involved in your society. Give to the people. Meaning what? Meaning not only to give, as a citizen, it's also a philosophical and religious debate about your values, about your ethics, and then about the meaning of life, and then about consumerism, about, global warming. This is why I'm saying that the Muslims should be involved in all the social, political, and cultural discussions of their time.
You have argued, and you've said, and you just repeated, that Islam is American, Islam is European, Islam is...
Yes, Islam is a Western religion, and it's an Asian religion, is an African religion, and the universality of Islam is the same set of principles accepting the diversity of cultures. So when someone is coming to me and say, you know what, we are waiting for you to be integrated, I say, I'm sorry, I'm already integrated. Your mind is not yet integrating me, but I am. I abide by the law, I'm involved in the society. So beyond this now, it's really time for us to come to the discussion, and this is why I wrote this book, The Quest for Meaning, to let the people come together and say, beyond our diversity, there is we have to develop a philosophy of pluralism, understanding that we may have different viewpoints, but at the end of the day, we're just looking or trying to solve the same essential problems in our life.
Why is the act of violence appeal to young people?
For many reasons. For many reasons. The first thing that we have to say, if you come back to the Quran and you read the Quran, you cannot say there is nothing about violence. Some contextualized texts are dealing with violence and wars. And by the way, all the religious scriptures and the sacred scriptures are talking about violence. So if you come with a very literalist reading of these passages without contextualizing them, you can be attracted by saying, Islam is all about promoting, the truth by attacking an offensive jihad or qital, which is the war, the Arabic word for war. So you can take these interpretations, and then you also have a sense within the Muslim majority societies, a sense of frustration. No freedom, no democracy, poverty, no jobs, and sometimes with more sophisticated minds, the perception that, yes, the political colonization is over. The cultural colonization and still the economic colonization is still there. So it's something which is a binary vision. And the dogmatic minds, it's a question of mind, it's not a question of ignorance. It's sometimes you can be very sophisticated, very educated, but you have a dogmatic mind. And the dogmatic mind is a binary mind, is us versus them, black and white. Right. And then I'm right, so you're wrong. And I can impose onto you the fact that I'm right by any means possible. So this is attractive for some segments, a very tiny minority. We have to add this, tiny minorities of people throughout the world, and educated and less educated people. And this is why, as Muslims, as a Muslim scholar, I should be involved in this discussion to show how much this interpretation is wrong, it's anti-Islamic, and this is not the way to deal with your society. You want to change your society, be involved in democratic processes, if they are, and if they are not, by spreading around an awareness that you have to free your society in a peaceful way.
When you wanted to go to Notre Dame to accept this position, what did they say to you when they denied the visa?
First, I was in Niger, and everything was sorted out. My, furniture was in the States. I had, registered my kids in schools there. And then I got a call from the American embassy in Switzerland telling me your visa has been revoked. No explanation for 2 months. And then they said, oh, Patriot Act. then you are connected. And then they changed this by saying, no, you are connected with some groups. And then I got a second, I applied
These were charity groups that they thought were supporting.
This came later because I went to the American embassy to apply again, and then they sent someone from the Homeland Security. I told him myself, look, I gave money to all these organizations, from Terre des Hommes in Switzerland, which is a secular organization, to some organizations supporting education in Palestine.
And they made the argument that some of that money had gone to...
Exactly. But the problem is that they didn't check the dates, because I gave the money 1 year before they blacklisted the organization. So it was silly. Telling me you should reasonably have known that this organization was, and my answer is, so I should reasonably have known before you that you are going to blacklist this organization. Silly and quite ridiculous.
What's interesting, and I'm really fascinated by this, is how you are perceived, in a sense. People listen to what you say and they say, there is the most reasonable man I've ever heard speak about. You know, there should be more people from every religion speaking about his faith the way you do. And then they say, and I'm baffled by this, then they say, well, but we don't really, we think that's all a front. He really believes he has these very radical fundamentalist views. Why is that, do you think?
You use the word, which is the essence of the question, is trust. If you look at Islam, you know, I am perceived as a controversial Muslim intellectual, and I'm talking about this in the book Radical, What I Believe, saying, look, Islam per se is a controversial topic. If you speak about Islam, it's going to be controversial because this is a controversial topic of the day. So I am perceived as an intellectual Muslim, and something which is very surprising is that I speak your language with your words. I have been born here. Philosophy, Western philosophy, concepts, translating from Arabic. What's that? Something should be wrong. So what I'm saying is that I'm not listened to. So some people say, oh, you may have a double talk. And my answer is, but you may have a double hearing. Is that there is a problem.
Does it anything have to do with the fact that on your mother's side, your maternal grandfather was one of the founders of the Muslim Brotherhood?
20 years ago,
right.
Yes, but now, you know, I'm almost 50. Till when I'm going to be the grandson of, you know, Hassan al-Banna. That's fine. I said about him that I'm contextualizing his, you know, life and what he did with few things you know, with some things I agree, some things I disagree. I'm contextualizing what he did in his time, but I want to be judged on what I said and what I have been doing for the last 25 years. And if you listen to the people say, we don't trust him, say, okay, come with evidences, come with proofs, what is wrong in what he say. I say, I don't know, I feel it. But this feeling is coming from a very deep mistrust between the people. It's just a Western Muslim voice speaking our language is very difficult to trust, and still this is the future.
What did Samuel Huntington have right and wrong, if anything?
I think first that there are things that are right, and by the way, it's not, we reduced very often what he said about a clash of civilization. I think it's much more sophisticated than that. What he said is really that the perception of the world will be, you know, traditions and religious traditions and cultures being separated or distinguished or opposed. And this is, you cannot just say it's not happening. If you travel in the Muslim majority countries and you listen to the people, the West, them, what they want, they are talking about them.
Right.
You are in the West, I'm living in the West. I hear every day, day in, day out, I hear people saying, you Muslim, you the other. Even when I'm a Swiss citizen, and you know, with a European background, I'm always perceived as the other. So the us versus them and the clash.
So when you hear you perceive the other simply because you're Muslim.
Exactly. By the only fact that I'm a Muslim, I represent.
And when you're in a Muslim country, anybody that's Western,
so it's the West, is they, exactly. So we cannot. I don't call it a clash of civilizations. I call it a clash of perceptions.
Some argue about Islam today. Recently, Tony Blair on this program. I want you to take a look at it.
The problem is not simply the extremism. And I think one of the mistakes is in thinking that if you deal with the extremists, you deal with the problem. And my view is that the problem is actually a narrative, and in particular a narrative about Islam, that is a narrative shared by a far broader spectrum than we think. And that narrative is basically that Islam is under oppression from the West, that the West is hostile,